What's going on, you guys? Welcome back to a brand new video. In today's video, we are going to be ranking every single Spider-Man movie, bar the Venom movies. Yo, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to a brand new video. In today's video, we are going to be ranking every single Spider-Man movie, not including the Venom movies and Morbius, and we are on tier list. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, it has been 2 years since I made one of these videos, but we are back, and we are doing another one. Obviously, as you do know, No Way Home has finally come out, so it's finally time for me to go back and re-rank the Spider-Man movies where I see fit. Some of them have changed from my last ranking, some haven't, but we'll just have to see. But if you are new around here, enjoy all types of Spider-Man content, make sure to hit that subscribe button and make sure to hit the bell next to the subscribe button to not miss any more Spider-Man videos as soon as they come out on the channel. And also, first of all, before we do get into the tier list, where the hell am I? If you guys watched my Thor reaction video, you will have seen I am in this room. Where is this room? So this room is basically kind of like a storage room in my house, and my setup has been moved here because my room is currently being done and I'm getting a new setup and everything, which is why uploads are slow from time to time, because it's a little bit harder for me to get videos out and stuff. Just everything's just a bit all over the place with going to uni and stuff as well. But yeah, that's why I'm here. So if you see me here for like a month or two, then you know why. But with that being said, let's get straight into the ranking. Let's start with Spider-Man 1. We'll go from chronological first to last. So we'll start with Spider-Man 1. Where do I put it on the tier list? See, this is hard. I think this ranking, whatever I give it, will change just because when I compare them to other movies, I might, you know, shuffle them around a bit. I'm going to have to put Spider-Man 1. It's a really good movie. It's a really good movie. I think I'm going to have to go for B. Purely because this movie, this movie is a fantastic film, right? But I'm just thinking about how I prefer some of the others to this one. I can't put it higher than a B, just because I don't think it should be sat along some of the other movies. I know a lot of you will disagree with me on that one. But it's firmly in the middle. It's a good starting point, 'cause it's firmly there. It's firmly there. Let's go into Spider-Man 2. Obviously, it's going to be an S. You know, I think it's the perfect superhero movie. You know, it's a perfect movie for me in general. Like, I love this movie to bits. It's my second favorite film or is it my favorite? I don't know. I'll have to go back and rewatch it, because after No Way Home came out, that has been my favorite film. I'm such a Spider-Man show. But yeah, so Spider-Man 2 was my favorite film for the longest time, ever since I was a kid. It holds a special place in my heart anyway. It's just a fantastic film anyway, you know. You know, Sam Raimi did a fantastic job with this movie. Stepped it up after the first one, which not many people thought he could do, but he did. You know, it rivals stuff like The Dark Knight to be the best superhero movie, in my opinion. But yeah, moving on. Let's go to Spider-Man 3. I think it's a firm C. You know, it's definitely nowhere near as good as the second one. It's not even as good as the first one, but it is a solid movie. You know, I don't like it as much as the other ones, and I think that's just the dramatic change in pacing throughout the film. It's a good film, you know, the characters get good development, the characters are good in themselves, the plot is pretty good, it's a bit convoluted and the characters kind of clash with each other sometimes in terms of their stories, and the amount that Sony tried to force into this movie. I feel like if this movie didn't have Venom, then it would be, you're probably up there with Spider-Man 2. I reckon Sam would have probably, you know, took this film to another level that Spider-Man 2 couldn't reach at that time as well. I think he was just getting better and better and better with it. It might not have been, who knows, but the potential was there for the third one to be as good, if not better than the second. If you guys want to see a fan fiction where I do Spider-Man 3, I like rewrite it, but I don't rewrite it. I like kind of do a what if Venom wasn't a part of Spider-Man 3, because people have told me to rewrite Spider-Man 3 several times, and I don't want to do it because I like Spider-Man 3. I'd rather just go into Spider-Man 4 and continue the story. I do think it would have been interesting to see what would have happened if Venom wasn't in it, and I think that could be a cool video idea, so let me know in the comment section below. Anyway, let's move on to TASM 1. I love this movie. This movie is an A for me. Now, we've got one in every single one apart from D. But TASM 1, It's a really good movie. You know, people don't like it as much as Spider-Man 1, and that's why I'm going to differ to most people, is that I put TASM 1 ahead of Spider-Man 1 just because TASM 1 to me is, once again, holds a special place in my heart. I grew up with this movie, as you guys know, with the Raimi movies as well, but I think this movie is really good in a sense that it tackles a lot of things that the Raimi trilogy wasn't able to do as successfully. Now, obviously, TASM 1 is very similar to Spider-Man 1 in terms of the origin and a lot of the stuff that happens in it. Obviously, it's basically just a copy and paste movie with different actors in a lot of senses. But in TASM, I felt like brought a more of a youth to it. They brought a different aspect of the romance to it. There's different sort of elements with that in there. You know, a lot of the movie was focused on Gwen and Peter's relationship, something that in the first movie was there, it was prominent, but I definitely think that it was the driving force of TASM 1, that relationship between Peter and Gwen. They brought in Captain Stacy, which he was definitely really underutilized in Spider-Man 3 and definitely didn't need to be there, so that was interesting as well. So yeah, TASM 1 did a lot of things that I liked personally, and you'll notice in my Spider-Man films that I'm making in the Last Hunt universe, is taking a lot of inspiration from TASM because I really like the elements that they brought in. And that's just a me thing. That's personally 100% me. I'm a sucker for romance movies anyway. I like all that kind of stuff. So obviously it won't be for some people, but for me, it's an A. And for that reason, you know, I think it's a great movie. So let's move on to TASM 2. We're going to have one in each category because TASM 2 is a D. Yes, it takes the element from TASM 1, the romance, and it drives it full force into this movie, which is the only part of this movie that I do like. But once again, it is basically Spider-Man 3 emulated and times 10. You know, Spider-Man 3 suffered a lot from overcomplicating the plot, too many characters, you know, the pacing suffered heavily as well. TASM 2 had the exact same problem, but amplified. This movie it just wasn't good. You know, I can say from Spider-Man 3 and upwards that they're all decent films. You know, as a film, from a filmmaking perspective, they're all good films. TASM 2 just isn't. And on a technical level, you know, the pacing is horrific. Some of the characters are god-awful. You know, some of the writing isn't great either. The romance is good. And that's something that you can clearly tell Mark Webb brought from the first one into this one. And TASM 2 obviously also faced a lot of issues from Sony, once again, like Spider-Man 3. And that, you know, you could tell that this was a studio-produced movie, you know. They changed the costume, they changed the tonality, because they were trying to keep up with the MCU. And that's just how it was. You can also kind of see that trend with TASM 1, although I don't think it is as prominent because TASM 1 is very much a Mark Webb film more than a Sony film. But, you know, TASM 1 taking a lot of inspiration from the introduction of a serious superhero like The Dark Knight. TASM 2 taking inspiration from the then successful Avengers movies. You know, they were going with the trends, you know, trying to build a cinematic universe with the Sinister Six and what have you. But, you know, it just didn't work, and this movie suffered heavily from it. You know, TASM 2, I've said before, had the potential to be the best Spider-Man movie. It just did, and obviously you could say that about every Spider-Man movie, but coming off the back of TASM 1 with that powerful ending, the stuff with Gwen, Captain Stacy, they could have really drove this movie into the ground with that, followed it forward, even had Electro as the villain, you know, take Harry out of there, just do something else. And focus in on the characters that you want to focus in on instead of trying to do a billion different things. And it would have been a great movie. But obviously it suffered heavily. Now this is where it's going to get interesting because we're going to start adding movies against movies in these categories. So let's go into the Spider-Verse then. Where am I putting Into the Spider-Verse? It is a... Now this is a hard one because I want to ride it between S and A for me. But it's going to have to be an S, isn't it? Yeah, it's going to have to be an S. This movie it's incredible. It's a fantastic Spider-Man movie. Arguably the best one. Just on a storytelling perspective, storytelling standpoint. The idea that there is a new Spider-Man that comes and takes the spotlight after Peter Parker has never been done in a movie before on the big screen. And this is the first movie to do that. Obviously, it's Miles' first outing on the big screen as well, and it was a fantastic movie. And I was just so happy to see, you know, not just a Spider-Verse movie, but a Miles Morales movie, because it was long overdue. Miles getting his own film, you know, it is an incredible character, so much potential there, and, you know, Spider-Verse took that potential and ran with it. And now we're getting a sequel that looks to be equally as good, if not even better, than Into the Spider-Verse. And I cannot wait to get the first part for that this year. Anyway, let's move on to Spider-Man Homecoming. It is a low A for me. Low A, high B. I want to say it's a low A, though. It definitely deserves to be an A. It's an incredible film. The Vulture is one of my favorite Spider-Man villains of all time in live action, I must add. In the comics, meh, I don't know, maybe not so much. But in the movies, the Vulture is an incredible villain. Still, probably one of the best, if not the best Spider-Man scene of all time for me is the car scene with Michael Keaton and Tom Holland and Laura Harrier. That scene was incredible. The acting was, you know, the acting, the cinematography, it was perfect. This movie just has so many great moments. It's very youthful. It's a different take. It's fresh to the character. Obviously, not a lot of people like that. We know a lot of people don't like the Tom Holland movies because they're not as epic and heroic and adventurous as the other ones. But it takes a different turn. And, you know, each movie grows up in its own right in the Tom Holland trilogy. And I know a lot of people don't like that sentiment, but I personally like it because it's that more rewarding when you get to No Way Home. And No Way Home delivered that epicness and heroicness that we're used to when it comes to the Raimi and Webb movies, that when we got there finally with Tom Holland, it felt all the more rewarding. I did feel like it was missing something, but I think I was just getting used to the fact that we had this fresh take on the character, and I look back on it and I really enjoy that movie. So let's move on to Far From Home. Now, this is where I think my opinion kind of subsides with quite a lot of the community, in that Far From Home, when it first came out, I really loved this film. I think it was my third favourite Spider-Man film, but as time's gone on, it's just got lower and lower and lower, and that's no disrespect to the film. You know, it's a great film, and I really do enjoy it still. But I just think that it's just not on the level of the other films. It certainly is missing some sort of charm that the other ones have. But I don't want to take anything away from it. It is still a great movie. It still fits perfectly in this Tom Holland trilogy. But where am I going to put it? I think I don't want to give it a high C, you know, though. I don't want to give it a high C. It's a low B. Yeah, it's a low B. I think, you know, it's definitely better than Spider-Man 3. I think Spider-Man 3, I think it's clear of Spider-Man 3 and TASM 2, especially TASM 2. But it's not quite on Spider-Man 1's level. Spider-Man 1 definitely eclipses it. But, you know, it's still a great film. It's still a good watch. It's still a great watch. You can sit down and watch it with your friends. It's a great action movie. You can have a lot of fun watching it. But I don't think it's quite there. And now the big boy, Spider-Man No Way Home. It is an S. And it is a high S. It is probably my favorite Spider-Man movie. Probably my favorite film. Tobey Maguire, Andrew Garfield, Tom Holland. Hate one of them. Love one of them. It's got all three of them. So you can't complain. It's a brilliant movie. You know, just as a storytelling standpoint, this film is incredible in its own right. It deals with its villains correctly. It gets Goblin completely spot on to how he would be after Spider-Man 1 as well. Obviously, Andrew Garfield, you know, steals the show in any scene that he's in. That one scene where the Peters meet for the first time is an incredible scene. I think if the Homecoming scene wasn't as perfect as it was, this is the best scene in any Spider-Man movie, period. Yeah, obviously there's still some things wrong with it. You know, the pacing at the start, maybe a little bit is a bit slow to get going with, but once you get going, you get going. Maybe something else is the CGI. I know a lot of people don't like to complain about the CGI because obviously the VFX artists will work 10 to the dozen to get this film ready for December 2021. So I'm not going to touch on that too much. I'm not really too bothered. But obviously, when you're comparing it to other movies that already had great CGI, especially TASM 2, I'll give TASM 2 that, had incredible VFX. But when you're comparing it, you know, you can't help but say, well, maybe the CGI wasn't the best. But obviously, it's being fixed as the movie's still coming out, which I thought was incredibly funny. But with that being said, That's it for the tier list. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you did enjoy, make sure you hit the like button. Subscribe if you are new. Make sure you hit the bell next to the subscribe button to not miss any more videos as soon as they come out on the channel. With that being said, thank you guys for watching. I'll see you guys in the next video. Take care and peace.